Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video we're going to review the chicken coop that I built using the plans from Chris over at Third Coast Craftsman. And if you want to see the build video of this coop, I'll link that right up here in the upper corner as well as down in the description. But for this video we're going to focus on things I like about this coop as well as a few things that I would probably do a little bit differently if I had to build this again. But overall, I have to say, Chris's plans were really great, and I think the coop looks great. My kids love it, my wife loves it, the chickens absolutely love it, and I couldn't be happier with how this turned out. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, I'm going to start off with a quick safety feature, which is just this little latch that I've added high up on the door so that the kids can't access the coop unattended. And this is mainly because we have a rooster, and the rooster can be a bit aggressive, so safety first on this one. Also on the front here, we just added a couple of brackets for some hanging baskets, and very much work in progress, but we're going to be planting some blueberries and blackberries and raspberries around the front here. Okay, so jumping right into the first pro, which is this super large man door to get into the run itself. So the run is easily 8 feet tall here at the end to the coop, and then all the way down at the shortest end of the run it's about 6 feet. So you can easily walk completely upright in the entirety of the run, which makes it really easy for feeding the chickens, watering them, and cleaning up after them. Okay, so my first con is actually going to be an item that Chris said was a pro, which is the space underneath the coop itself. So Chris mentioned that he elevated this coop enough so that an adult could get underneath there to get a chicken out or whatever it may be. But the reality is the space really still is not big enough for an adult to fit under there comfortably to either remove a chicken or a stray egg that was left underneath there. So if I did have to do this over again, I would probably raise the coop another 6 inches, which would still make accessing the interior of the coop really easy. Okay, on to the next pro, which is this automated chicken door. Now this isn't the same one that Chris had, but I have to say this door is phenomenal. It gives you the option of setting it from your cell phone, and you can set it either to open and close based off of sunset and sunrise, so there's a light sensor, or you can set it to specific times. And in my case, I have to set it to specific times because I have some sound ordinance within my town related to the rooster, so the rooster cannot be up and about making noise until 7 a.m. So I have to keep him essentially in the coop, muffled until then. And on to the next change. So this change is just a material change. I found these Odor panels. I believe this was from Lowe's. It's simply an asphalt product in the form of a metal roof, and these things are incredibly cost effective and super easy to install, so I highly recommend them. And I don't know what happened here at the end of the run, but I followed the plans and I did end up with this space. Now I will say this has been an access point for squirrels, so that definitely requires some chicken wire. The other thing I wanted to point out, and Chris didn't mention this, so I don't know if he did this, but I found it a lot easier to secure the entirety of the run and really stiffen it up using all these structural lags rather than just screws. So every intersection of the run is really all being held together with these structural lags rather than simply deck screws. And these two birch perches in the run were my kids' ideas, but the chickens absolutely love these. They spend a vast majority of their time perched on these when they're hanging out in the run. So great add to the run. So jumping back to the outside, you can see us surrounded the perimeter with as many rocks as me and the kids could turn up, and this is just to cover the edge of the hardware cloth that's sticking out anywhere from 6 to 8 inches around the perimeter. And I'm not done with the landscaping over here. We're gonna clean this all up, but I will say we've had a few things digging around the outside of the perimeter, and these small rocks and the hardware cloth have been more than sufficient. The other thing I'll mention is you definitely want to have some form of electricity at your coop. In my case, being in New England, I do need something to keep the water from freezing. So I did set up some electrical here to help with that. Now here you can see some evidence of the squirrels trying to get into the food bin. Alright, so moving to the coop itself, we're going to go to another pro, which is this nesting box and how this door opens down. So this is great because it creates a nice shelf for resting a bowl or whatever basket, whatever you're using to collect the eggs, and just makes it really convenient. Also, you could see here I have some fake eggs in here. These things have been great for training the chickens to utilize the nesting boxes and really have reduced the number of eggs that I've seen in the run. Now, I occasionally do get a misplaced egg, but no big deal. And you can see right there the eggs are really, really clean, despite that we have this pile of dirty litter in here. Now, this is roughly 8 months worth of chicken waste for 8 chickens. And this brings me to the biggest con of this coop, and the majority of the changes that I would make. So Chris had designed this to utilize the sand method or litter box method. I'm not sure exactly what he had called it, but as you can see, I'm not doing that. I'm utilizing the deep litter method, and I did originally fully intend to utilize the same method Chris was using. However, I was in a bit of a rush and I had to get the chickens in, and I didn't have the sand, so I decided to put in wood chips. And what I realized is it took a really long time for the chickens to produce a meaningful amount of waste. So I decided to just continue on with the deep litter method, which has been great and really maintenance free and really odor free. However, it does create issues with all of the doors opening and closing, with the wood chips getting caught in them, specifically the nesting door. And you can see here across the 2 front barn doors, I've added this 2x4 to keep the wood chip material back so that the doors don't get clogged up and they do open and close easily. So my biggest changes for this would be, if you're going to use the deep litter method, adding some sort of 2x4 or something to keep the material back away from these doors, as well as adding something across all of the nesting box doors to keep the material from getting within the hinges and causing the nesting box door to either get too tight or not want to close. So as we're looking in the coop, the other thing that I wanted to note that I did differently than Chris is I insulated the entirety of the coop itself, as well as added some paneling to keep the chickens from destroying the insulation where they could reach it. And this wasn't to keep the birds warm or more comfortable or anything like this. This was simply for noise reduction for the rooster, so that I wasn't bothering my neighbors. Now, it does have the benefit of helping with warmth in the winter and keeping cool in the summer, so that was an added bonus. But it wasn't necessary for the breeds of chickens that I have that are all New England breeds that are cold hardy, which was intentional so that I didn't have to provide any supplemental heat or anything like that for these chickens. Now, this item was recommended by Chris. This is the PDZ Coop Refresher, and I have to agree with him. This stuff, sweet PDZ, is absolutely amazing. I sprinkle this in probably every other week, and it's really helped keep the coop completely odor-free, even with months and months of waste, as well as keep everything very, very dry. So the next item I wanted to talk about is not really a pro or a con. It's really more of an enhancement. So one of the things I noticed with the chickens is as they've gotten bigger, the amount of water they drink is quite a lot. So a 5-gallon bucket that I have in there goes relatively quick. It will last about 4 days in the winter and maybe only 2 or 3 days max in the summer. So I really do want to install some gutters and get a rain barrel and then pipe in some little water bowls that the chickens can just peck at the float to get the water to fill them up, to cut down on the amount of effort for watering. So here I'm just pointing out, as I mentioned before, there have been things that have tried to dig in here to no avail. So the wire mesh on the hardware cloth has really been doing its job, and as you can see, I followed Chris's instructions. I put it everywhere, and it's really been working. Now, where the panels meet the roof here, there are gaps, but I haven't found that anything has actually accessed the coop through those gaps. Again, the only place we had anything get in was the squirrels from that far end. Outside of that, I've added some decorative items like the light on here, and overall, I have to say I'm really happy with how this coop looks. So moving on to some future plans, we really like the chickens, and now that we've had them for a year, we'd like to get some more. So I'm looking at fencing in this area behind the coop here, so adding some fence lines from the corner of the coop to my existing fence. Then on my existing fence, I'm gonna add some chicken cloth around it to reduce the size of those holes, and I'm gonna essentially make this entire area back here for the chickens to graze. Now, this is great in the summer because it does have trees hanging over it, which provide cover from hawks and other predators from above. So I really think this will be a nice, safe location for them. And truth be told, I have some difficulty growing back grass back here, so I'm happy to sacrifice this area of my yard for the chickens to have a little more space. Though the coop itself in the run is quite plentiful in space, especially for only 8 birds. But I do think giving them this area in the back here will be a nice addition. So thanks again for watching, everybody. If you didn't catch the build video, it's linked down in the description and in the upper corner. And again, these plans were from Chris over at Third Coast Craftsman. Highly recommended. Go check it out. Thanks for watching.